Then question number 12, the ESR is increased in pregnancy due to elevation of. So we know the erythrocyte sedimentation rate, that is what erythrocyte sedimentation rate, and also we can call it hematocrit value. Hematocrit value. So ESR is increased in pregnancy due to elevation of, so that is what platelets, antithrombotic activity, increased albumin, that is what our here fibrinogen. So here is the mechanism we can see. So here we can see the mechanism. The ESR is determined by the interaction between factors that promote what fibrinogens and resist what sedimentation. Normal RBC normally settle slowly as they do not form what Rolex. Instead, they generally repel each other due to negatively. Rolex are what they stack of many RBC. If you connect many RBC, what they will form, what Rolex, and that will become heavier and sediment faster. So this is what the Rolex is, what Rolex formation, that is that stacks of many RBC like one to one, one above one. That is what RBC formation or RBC aggregation will be there. We called it Rolex formation. So that become heavy. If this become heavier, that means sediment faster. And if you talk about the normal ESR, that is what 10 to 20 mm. Then if we talk about in case of pregnancy, in the pace of pregnancy, there is an increase. So we can say there is elevation, that is we can say 40 to 60. Then we can say the erythrocyte sedimentation rate, that increase ESR that seen in case of pregnancy, inflammation and the cancer. And the decrease ESR that's seen due to polycythemia in case of sickle cell anemia, hereditary spherocytosis and the congenital heart failure. You can just take the screenshot and remember this, that erythrocyte sedimentation rate, the increase in this case pregnancy, inflammation, cancer, and decrease ESR they seen in the polycythemia, sickle cell anemia, hereditary spherocytosis and the congestive heart failure. Again the same question number 13. The question number 13 is again on the hypersensitivity. A child upon disturbing a beehives and several stings after a few minutes. So again the question is complete here, or we can normally tell the answer, because the beehives, as I told in the hypersensitivity video, that is the example of what that is type 1 hypersensitivity. So type 1 hypersensitivity, which there, that is what IgE mediated reactions. So here again you can see the one diagram here. So in the type 1 we studied the mast cell or the basophils. They have the major role in the type 1 hypersensitivity, and how they will activate by cross linking of immunoglobulin. Also the degranulation that occurs in a few seconds. The histamine, they have the roles, the leukotriene, serotonin, prostaglandin, PF. So here the main role is, you need to remember, that is what histamine. And whenever the histamine should becomes there should becomes in your mind, three things should become in your mind, that is with increase of what they will do, increase vascular permeability. They will do increase vascular permeability. They cause vasodilation. They cause what? Vasodilation. They cause what? They decrease what? Bronchial constriction. Or they cause what? Bronchoconstriction. They cause what? Bronchoconstriction. So whenever the histamine, three things should come in your mind. They cause the vasodilation. They increase what? Vascular permeability. They increase what? They cause what? Bronchoconstriction. Then type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, as I discussed already, the antigen will come, antigen presenting cell, T helper 2 cells. So then they activate, transform into the B cell, will transfer into the plasma cells, and from there the IgE will release, and the IgE will fix to the what? Mast cell, and now there is cross linking of this antigen will occur, then it will lead to the symptoms or the release of what? Histamines and the mediators like prostaglandin, ACFA, PF, platelet activating factor. All these factors will be increased. So you can again check complete video on the hypersensitivity. Click on the I button. Question number 14. A patient, or you can check the link in the description for all this video that I discussed. Question number 14. A patient 42-year-old shifted to the emergency department has suspected COVID infection. So if any viral infection, COVID is what? It is virus. So if any viral infection is there, so which blood cell has found to be elevated in his blood? So if any viral infection, which blood size or which WBC will be increased? That is what? Our lymphocytes. If any bacterial infection is there, so which cell will be increased, that is what our neutrophils or neutrophils, or we can call it increase of neutrophils, we call it neutrophilia. If we see there is any parasitic infection, if we see any parasitic or allergic infection or allergy, so which immunoglobulin E will be, there is a immunoglobulin E as well as which WBC will be increased, that is what our eosinophilia or eosinophils will be increased. And in case of malarial infections, the malarial infection, if we talk, the malarial infection that will be monocyte, M for monocyte, M for malaria. So monocyte will be increased. But also if we talk about the basophils, so basophils, they don't have the specific roles that increase in some, that can increase in any cases. So that we're not considering. So viral, remember the bacterial, parasitic or allergic infection, and then there is a malaria. Malaria increase in what? Monocytic. In monocyte will be increased in case of malaria. Parasitic or allergic infection, eosinophils will be increased. Bacterial infection, there will be neutrophils, and the neutrophilia will be increased. And in case of viral infection, lymphocytes will be increased. Then again the question number 15, a mislabeled sample of tissue was sent over the pathology lab for histopathological examination. On microscopy, a characteristics of what? A characteristics of a characteristic corpuscles known as Hassel's corpuscle. So Hassel's corpuscle, which is the following structure. So we told discuss what lymphoid organs. Then we discuss what thymus. In thymus, remember that one corpuscles is present, that we called it Hassel's corpuscles. Hassel's corpuscles. Here you can say the Hassel's corpuscles. What are these? They are concentrically arranged, keratinizing and degenerating epithelial reticular cell and the macrophage. So here we can see this is what our Hassel's corpus. What is the function of that? That is not known function. Function is poorly understood. Maybe thymic hormone. No one knows the function of Hassel's corpuscles. Where they found? They found in the medulla of what? Thymus. They instantly signify the thymus. Nothing related to that. So remember just always that just the Hassel's corpuscles they present in where? Thymus. Hassel's corpuscles they present in thymus, and in thymus we are in the medullary regions. In thymus medulla region. And also what the functions? Function is not known. Function is not known for the Hassel's corpuscles. Then question number 16, holocrine secretion is seen in. So what are the holocrine secretions? So normally in our body we have, if we talk about the secretory part, so exocrine gland. So what the exocrine glands do? They will release their secretion. So these are three main glands that present here. That is what our first is our merocrine gland. First is our merocrine. Then there is a apocrine, and the one there is a holocrine gland. Okay. So merocrine gland, remember that they release their secretion. So here we can see that, oh, this is Spanish or anything, language. No need to just focus on what figure. Then merocrine secretion, what they are doing, these are what vesicles. These are what vesicle desecretion. So here is what vesicles. So vesicles, the secretion, just releasing of that vesicle secretion, we call merocrine gland. If any gland is, if any apex or any, if we can see this is the apex, complete vesicles is releasing or excreting. So that we called apocrine secretion. In case of holocrine secretion, the entire cells is what? Entire cell is relating. Holo means complete, entire. So entire cell is what? Excreting. We called it holocrine secretion. So holocrine secretion, more basically the entire cell lost with their secretion. The stem cell divide, they replace the lost cell, new cell will form. The stem cell completely, what they will do, they try to regenerate more and more cells, and the lost, they will, what they will replace of the lost cell. Example is where CBSS gland. Also remember the CBSS gland, these are the steps. So first there is a mitosis that replaces what? Lost cells. So normally the full entire cell is what? Removing, or the entire cell is losing from our body, and that will release as a secretion. Now step 2, the cell will produce the secretion, they will increase in the size, and the cell will burst and releasing what? Cytoplasmic content. So that is what secretion, and these are the steps that seen in holocrine secretion. So remember holocrine, there is a what? Sebaceous gland. Example, holocrine secretion, sebaceous gland. Apocrine secretion, that is sweat gland present in the palms and the soles, and merocrine secretion. Okay, so these are what our all the exocrine gland based on the secretion. Again, this is the holocrine. One more diagram is there. So holocrine, this indicates that it is content that we call it like complete cell is what destroying. And again, continuously there is a mitotic division will occur due to replace the cells, lost cells. Then question number 17, which of the following is not a layer of the cerebellar cortex? So cerebellar cortex, when we talk, so cerebellar cortex, remember they have mainly the three layers. Which three layers they have? The first there is a what? MPG. First there is a molecular layer, then there is a Purkinje or pyramidal layer, Purkinje or pyramidal layer, and G4 what we have, that is what our granular layer. So which one is not here? That is our multiform layer. So which one will be answered? That is what multiform layer. So here you can see that this is our diagram in which we can say this is our the white matter that present inside, and this is what our granular layer. Then we have the Purkinje layer and we have the molecular layer. In the molecular layer, we can see there is a basket-shaped cells. In the granular layer, we can say there is a what granule cell and there is a unipolar brush cell. So these are the granular layer that contain what granule cell that we called it granule cells. Purkinje layer or the pyramidal layer, they affect in case of alcohol consumption. The person who is chronic alcoholic consumer, that Purkinje fiber or the pyramidal cell layer, that will be disbalance, and in those patients there will be the disbalancing will occur. The patient will not able to balance itself. The immunoglobulin present in the tears and the saliva. Question number 18. The immunoglobulin present in the tears and the saliva, that is what? IgM? No. IgD? No. IgA? No. Yes. IgE? No. So that is what answer, that is our IgA. That you already told the game. Remember what game? What is the function of the games? See here. Type of immunoglobulins, that is what IgG. So IgG, what they have? They have the heavy chain. They have what? Heavy chain, gamma chain. Don't need to remember, forget it. They have the monomer only. They have the monomer in the oil. Remember one thing here, that IgM. So IgM, remember, okay. So IgM is what? It is pentameric. And IgM is what? It is over pentameric. And all others are what? Monomers. All other what? Monomer, 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 monomer. IgM, remember only, that is what? It is our pentamer structure. IgG, what the function of IgG? They have ability to transfer the blood vessels to tissue. So remember the only immunoglobulins that cross what? Placenta. That is what? IgG. So they pass through the placenta to the tissue. The important in the secondary response. So the important, they cross the placenta and responsible for what? The chronic infection. Responsible for what? Chronic infection. The most abundant of the circulating abundant. Also remember which one is the most abundant, that is what? Our IgG. The next one is what? Our IgA. The protect the wall of bronchi in the small intestine, high concentration in the breast milk, and help in the transferring immunity to the newborn infant. So it means they present in where? It present in the tears, it present in the saliva, it present in the milk. So they, like we can say colostrum. Colostrum, it was initial milk that present or in the pregnant lady. Then IgM, it is a pentameric structure. The primary immune response means they're responsible for what? Acute infection. They're responsible for what? Acute infection. Then remember they are restricted to the bloodstream due to high mass. They have high mass. Mega infection. Then the present on the IgD, the present on the receptor of what? B cell, where the function as receptor for antigen. The function in the serum is not yet defined. The function in the serum is not yet defined. And also remember, you can remember it as skin infection. The role as a skin infection. The IgE, the important in protection against the parasite that we already discussed, the parasitic infection, allergic infection, development of allergic response, the release of what? Histamine. The release of what? Histamine release. Again, there is a type 1 hypersensitivity that we already discussed. The production contraction of the smooth muscle stimulate the secretion of the mucus, that is what IgE. So IgE, remember, so two major things that you need to remember here, that IgM, it is what pentameric structure. IgG only drugs that only immunoglobulin that cross the placenta, and also remember that the function of all these things. Okay. Okay, so now let's go to question number 19. In a preterm baby with respiratory distress syndrome, which of the following lipid would be deficient? So respiratory distress syndrome, that is the disease that occurs in the preterm baby, and that will lead to the lungs problem, and that will lead to the production of insufficient production of what? Surfactant. That will lead to what? Surfactant deficiency. Also remember the lungs, it is the organ that develop late, or develop in the like 36 week, develop at 36 week of the embryonic development. Then surfactant deficiency, respiratory distress syndromes. What are the surfactant compositions then? So surfactant composition, which cell will produce the surfactant? So surfactant, we know that in our body we have the, if we talk about the lungs, then we have the pneumocyte cells. So pneumocyte, or we can say alveocyte, that is what pneumocyte 1 and pneumocyte 2. So pneumocyte 1, they involved in what? Diffusion. They involved in what? Diffusion. And pneumocyte 2, they involved in where? The production of surfactant production. So what the function of the surfactant? They prevent collapsing. They prevent what? Collapsing. Or they have tendency to recede. That's question that are given. They have the tendency to what? Recede. So that is what pneumocyte 2, what they will do, they produce what? Surfactant. What they will do, they prevent what? Collapsing of the lung, and they have what? The tendency to recede. Then what are the surfactant composition? If we talk that they contain what? Phospholipid. In the phospholipid there is a DPCC, dipalmityl phosphatidylcholine, dipalmityl phosphatidylcholine, that is the most abundant surfactant composition. Then there is a neutral lipid that contain mostly cholesterol, that is 10%. Surfactant protein, that is SPAD, the A and D, that is what? Hydrophilic, and B and C, they are what? Hydrophobic. Okay, and mostly calcium ions are present. So you need to remember, then there is a lecithin also present, and the sphingomyelin. So remember that phospholipid dipalmitophosphatidyl DPCC, that is the most abundant, and here you can see that with respiratory distress syndrome, that is our dipalmityl phosphatidylcholine. Then the question number 20 is what parathermone has all effects except. So parathermone, we know that is produced by our parathyroid gland. It is produced by our parathyroid gland. So parathyroid glands, we know that is what? Thyroid, it is the front view of the thyroid gland, and then we have the thyroid gland, that is the back view. Back view, what we will see, there is a parathyroid gland that we see in the back view of the parathyroid. So whenever you will think about the parathyroid gland, whenever you think about parathyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, hypoparathyroidism, hypocalcemia, so first things, parathyroid glands, it help in the maintaining of what? Calcium and the phosphate levels. Calcium and what? Phosphate levels. So whenever you think about the parathyroid, so think only about what? Hypoparathyroidism. So if question comes in your exam that parathyroid deficiency, that will lead to what? Which kind of calcium metabolism or phosphate metabolism? So think about hypoparathyroidism. So hypoparathyroidism, remember, it is always equals to what? Hypocalcemia. It will lead to what? Hypocalcemia. And opposite of calcium is what? Phosphate. Then it means it will lead to hyperphosphatemia. Will lead to what? Hyperphosphatemia. So hypoparathyroidism, it means it parathyroid opposite hormone is what? Thyrocalcitonin. So it again that means hyperthyroidism, or hyper, which hormone for calcium metabolism? That is thyrocalcitonin. That is what? Thyrocalcitonin hormone, that will lead to what? Hypocalcemia as well as hyperphosphatemia. If we talk about opposite of what? Hypo, that is our hyperparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism. So hyperparathyroidism, remember, it will lead to what? Hypercalcemia. So from here, what we will conclude that parathormone, it what the function of parathormone, what they will do, they increase what? Calcium in the blood. They increase what? Calcium in the blood. And opposite hormone is what? Thyrocalcitonin. What they will do, they decrease what? Calcium in blood. Opposite of calcium, what is that? Phosphate. Oh, it means the parathormone, what they will do, they decrease what? Phosphate in the blood. They decrease what? Phosphate in blood. Opposite of calcium is that thyrocalcitonin, they will increase what? Phosphate in blood. And how from where they will take the calcium? From bones, from the teeth. So from the teeth and the bones and from the blood, they will correlate. So let's see the question here. The parathormone has all effect. They increase the bone resorption. Yes, because they will increase the bone resorption. From the bone, they will take what? Calcium, and they will give it to what? Blood. It means they increase the bone resorption. Yes. Increase the calcium reabsorption in the kidney. Calcium reabsorption means that the calcium is taken from the nephron part, from the tubules like proximal convoluted tubules, loop of Henle, and the distal convoluted tubule. From that, calcium will reabsorb into the blood. Means in the blood the calcium is increasing over calcium. Then they increase the phosphate reabsorption in the kidney. Yes, they will decrease the no will not increase the phosphate reabsorption in the kidney, because phosphate reabsorption in the kidney, it means they increasing what? Phosphate in blood. They increasing what? Phosphate in blood. But that is not the function of what? Thyroid, but not the function of parathyroid. That is the function of what? Thyrocalcitonin. So this one will be our answer. Then there is increased calcium in the blood. That is what? Yes, this one is totally correct. Okay. So this one is about thyroid and the parathyroid gland. The next question, in which of the following area is a pseudo-unipolar neuron present? So neuron, we know that neuron normally what they contain. In which of the following areas pseudo-unipolar type of the neuron present? So normally the neuron contains the cell body and axon, dendrites. So we have the different kind of the neurons. What is that? Unipolar neuron. So unipolar neuron, if you talk, unipolar neuron that is contained in our cell body, and then this is one called axon, or maybe they have one dendrite and one cell body. But if we talk about the bipolar, what they have one dendrite and one axon. One dendrite and one axon is there. That we call the bipolar. Pseudo-unipolar, it looks like bipolar. Pseudo-unipolar, what does it mean? It looks like bipolar. But if we talk about the origin of the pseudo-unipolar, they are what? Unipolar in origin. They are unipolar in what? Origin. That we called pseudo-unipolar. Multipolar neuron, they contain loads of dendrites. Dendrites are present loads, and there is loads of what? And there is single axon, and there is a single axon, and they are present abundant in our body. That is what? Multipolar neurons, abundant in our body. If we talk about the pseudo-unipolar neuron, they present in the dorsal ganglia of the spinal cord. They present in the dorsal ganglia of our spinal cord. If we talk about the bipolar neuron, they present in the retina and also present in the olfactory epithelium. They present in the retina and olfactory epithelium. If we talk about the unipolar neuron, they present in invertebrate. They not present in human beings. Okay, so that is the retina olfactory epithelium, pseudo-unipolar dorsal ganglia of the spinal cord, and the multipolar, they are present abundant in our body. Okay, so this all about what? Our neurons. Then pseudo-unipolar neuron, so answer is here what? Dorsal root ganglia. So answer is, what will be the answer here? That will be the dorsal root ganglia. Okay. The next question is that a scheme presents an exocrine gland, that is branch excretory duct with a terminal part in the form of the flask-shaped structure opening into the duct. How is this gland called? So here, if we talk about this exocrine gland, that based on what? They are based on what? Our excretory duct. So if we have single excretory duct, so we call it simple gland. If we have more than single excretory duct, we call it compound gland. So there is a what? It can be in the forms of the tubules. It can be in the forms of what? Tubules. It can be in the forms of coiled tubules. It can be in the forms of alveolar or acinar. It can be in the forms of alveolar or acinar, or we can say this is what flask shaped, or this is what tube like structure. Then it can be branched, it can be what simple unbranched, or it can be simple branched. So simple means they're opening into a single excretory duct. So we can see here that this is what single excretory duct. Again there is a single excretory duct, so it is simple tubular. Then if we talk about the alveolar, then we call it simple tubular alveolar gland, the single duct. Here we can say that they are but simple branch, but a branch there is tubules that arrange in the tubules, but all they are opening into a single excretory duct. Again the same here, they are a simple branch alveolar because what they are the acini or alveolar cell. Then if we talk about the compound gland means they have the separate individual duct. Along with that, they have the terminal duct. So we can say that this is a separate duct. This is again the separate duct. Again the separate duct, and this all have the separate duct. This again have the this one is separate duct, one duct, two duct, three duct, and again they will open into a what main excretory ducts or main terminal duct. So that's why we called it compound. And if it is in the form of the tubules, we call it compound tubular. If it is forms in the alveolar or acinar forms or flask same form, we call it compound alveolar. If some are in the acinar form, some are in the tubular form, we call it compound tubular alveolar. Remember the salivary glands. And remember what salivary gland, and here remember compound alveolar mammary glands. Okay. So these two example you need to remember, and also you can remember the simple branch alveolar. We have the sebaceous gland, and sweet coil tubular merocrine sweat gland. These you need to remember. No need to forget about it. So that is here we can say there is a branch excretory duct with a terminal part in the form of branch excretory duct with a terminal part in the form of flask shaped structure opening into that. So you have the branch excretory duct. This is one is a branch excretory alveoli with a terminal part in the form of what flask shape. Branch excretory duct with a terminal part in the form of what alveoli. So what we flask opening into the duct. How is this gland called? Simple unbranched alveolar. That is no. Simple branch tubular, no. That is flask shape, so that is no. Simple branch alveolar, yes, this one is correct. Simple branch alveolar, this one is correct. Okay. Okay. So again the same question about the parathyroid gland. A patient with a parathyroid deficiency 10 days after inadvertent damage to the parathyroid gland during the thyroid surgery probably have. So option is here low plasma phosphate and the calcium level. So here we can see the parathyroid deficiency. Again the parathyroid deficiency means hypoparathyroidism. So hypoparathyroidism, again what will be answer? Hypoparath hormone. So what will be the answer? Hypocalcemia. What will be the answer? Hypocalcemia. So again, low plasma phosphate and the calcium level, no. Low plasma calcium level, yes. Increased muscular excitability, yes. And spasm, Krause signs. So that is answer is correct. This one, these all are the wrongs. So again, the hypocalcemia. So they are the giving the sign also here. The increased muscular excitability, spasm, Krause signs. So hypocalcemia, what is the seen the manifestation? We see the weakness or the tetany. We see the positive Krause signs or the Chvostek signs. So Krause signs, we can see here that, or this is what Chvostek signs. When we're tapping the facial nerve, so there is a twitching of the facial muscles. So there is twitching of what facial muscles, twitching of facial muscles during the tapping of what facial nerves, and that is due to hypocalcemia. Facial nerve is seventh cranial nerve. And these all are what these are what our Trausse signs. These are what Trausse signs. Then there is a laryngeal stridor dysphagia, tingling around the mouth or in the extremity. So these all are the manifestation of what hypocalcemia. Here is when the what in the Trausse signs there is a spasm of the muscle. So that will see the Trausse signs. Then question number 24, which of the following hormone is secreted by the zona glomerulosa? So first we should know what is the zona glomerulosa. So zona glomerulosa, guys, that is what it is a part of our adrenal cortex. So normally if we talk about the adrenal gland, so adrenal gland we also called it suprarenal gland. Why we called it suprarenal gland? Because it present above what our kidney. Renal we know that is what kidney, and adrenal gland we can say it present superior of the kidney. That's why we called it suprarenal gland. Adrenal gland they have the two parts. First we called it adrenal medulla and another we called it adrenal cortex. So adrenal medulla, we can see here that this part, this is the part of our adrenal gland. Outer part we called it adrenal cortex, and inner part we called it in adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex. What the adrenal medulla do? They produce a hormone. They secrete a hormone that we called it epinephrine and norepinephrine. We called it epinephrine and norepinephrine. And these hormones, we know that these are fight and flight hormone. These are fight and flight hormone. Lado ya maro, lado ya vago. That is what epinephrine and norepinephrine. Adrenal cortex, remember that is the outer part of the adrenal gland, and they have the three layers. They have the three layers. What these are the layer? First we called it zona glomerulosa. What we called it? Zona glomerulosa. Then another layer is zona fasciculata. Zona fasciculata. Then another third layer or inner layer that we called it zona reticularis. Zona reticularis. Or also you can remember by GFR. That is GFR. So GFR, they are the layers of adrenal cortex. What they will do, they produce a hormone. We called it mineralocorticoids. So glomerulosa, they produce what? Mineralocorticoids. They produce what? Mineralocorticoid. Fasciculata, what they will produce? They produce what? Glucocorticoid. They produce what? Glucocorticoid. Reticularis, what they will produce? They produce what? Sex corticoid. They produce what? Sex corticoids. Okay, then mineralocorticoids, remember how you will remember that which layer produce which hormone, which corticoid. So that is what, remember, mar gaya sala. Mar gaya sala. Mar gaya sala means, that is mar gaya sala. It means that GFR mar gaya sala. So GFR mar gaya sala. That is what you need to remember. Zona glomerulosa that produce mineralocorticoid, fasciculata that produce what? Glucocorticoid, reticularis what they will produce? Sex corticoid. So remember that mineralocorticoids, example of the mineralocorticoids is what? Aldosterone. What the example of mineralocorticoid? Aldosterone. What the example of glucocorticoid? That is what? Cortisol. What is the example of sex corticoid? Dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEAT, dihydroepiandrotestosterone or DHEA. And aldosterone, what the function of aldosterone? Remember, guys, that it increase what? Sodium. And what they will do? They decrease what? Potassium. They will decrease what? Potassium. So we can say that it welcome the sodium and bye potassium. It welcome the sodium, bye potassium. Cortisol, sometimes we also called it stress hormone. We also called it stress hormone. And DHEA, that involved in what? Sex corticoid, involved in the sexual activities. So we can see here that again the same things: the adrenal gland, the adrenal medulla, adrenal cortex, adrenal medulla it is the innermost part, and the adrenal cortex is the outermost part. Then we can see here that this one is the stress. The stress, first we can see that this is what, when we're giving the stress, so the positive stimulus will come and the cortisol releasing hormone, that cortical releasing hormone is produced by what? Hypothalamus, and it will give signal to adrenocorticotropic hormone that will lead to cortisol, aldosterone and dihydroepiandrosterone. So remember, guys, the adrenal cortex, they are in the direct, they're in the control of what? Control of ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenal medulla, remember, their control of sympathetic system activity, sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so means that if the cortisol and aldosterone they increase, they can give the negative feedback to anterior pituitary. This is what? Anterior pituitary. This is what? Anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary produce what? ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. And the cortisol releasing hormone, but they will negative feedback to cortisol releasing hormone and ACTH, and that's why they will decrease what this secretion of cortisol, aldosterone, and dehydroepiandrosterone.